Hey folks, they say the Powerglove is bad. Well, this ain't a bad Powerglove. Rob here with, well, a look at the rather recently released cartridge edition of Powerglove. Powerglove was originally put out as part of the 2013 RGCD car compo, and was one of the, I can't remember if it was one of the, it was fairly well received, and obviously, as a result, the author has decided to work with RGCD to put an enhanced version out. So we'll dive in. The basic concept is it's 2230, and as usual in all these sort of dystopian things, the power system powering the planet has failed from an explosion, and you have to go in and recover it with your trusty experimental Powerglove. So go in the first cabin, and the basic concept is you just need to explore the screens in a sort of Metroid-esque tradition. We'll just get that out of the way, and basically recover 5 control crystals that are used to kick the backup systems in. So it's got this very nice look going on to it. Yeah, nice mixture of multicolor and high-res graphic type, both the backgrounds as well as the sprites. According to the little instruction leaflet of the cart release, the actual player has 3 high-res sprites, and there's a number of standard multicolor sprites used for the enemies, and a nice rocking SID soundtrack. So what these are like is that it rewards patience. So as you go through here, you only have 1 life, and you can sort of see up the top there you've got your health meter, and it's really about taking all these levels carefully, as you don't have extra lives. You can only, health pickups are rare, and it took me a lot of practice to get through subsections here. And the enemies, even most of them just stand there, it still provides a really tough challenge. Like this one here it took me a long time to work out a technique for that one. So you can sort of, to break the screen up the top you have your health, represented by the 4 hearts. The space to the left of it is for when you get key pickups, which I'm eventually going to get soon. Is unique. And then under that you have your score, obviously. And you can see at the bottom half of the screen is under the main gameplay area is the map. So I like how it fills in just an abstract representation of the levels. It's not, absolutely detailed, which just serves to sort of help you know where you have to go. So how is this compared with the original release, which I played a bit of, but I didn't play heavily. The biggest thing is there's a lot of, the map's been tweaked up a fair bit. There's now 5 levels, and there's also, I've never gotten far enough to find them, but there's a set of power boots that enable you to jump higher, and there's some stages, parts of the levels, which I'm sure I'll come to, where you can see where you need them. They've tweaked the difficulty a fair bit in a few other ways. So for example, the health pickups used to only give you 1 point of health in the original version, but with this version they give you double that. Helps to balance a fair bit, my opinion. And other than that, there's just been a few miscellaneous gameplay tweaks with the map, bit of speed up in transition, and your gun now actually plays sound when it fires, which is just handy little feedback aspects of the game, tightens it up. What's really impressive is that overall this is still a 16K release. Despite the changes, it's still been kept to a fairly standard size ROM card. So, and that does lead to a few limitations. For example, you'll actually see there are plenty of cases where rooms are recycled, as obviously there wasn't the space in the ROM or RAM to actually recycle everything. So you can already see, you've seen me go through this room layout earlier. Even though it's a completely separate room, it just has the same layout as a previous one. And that happens a fair few times, which I think is minor, but I could imagine some people getting a little hassled about. And the other thing that was actually really cool with this release is, besides the usual standard way of buying it, you can buy it as a physical cart or as just a digital download. is that the author actually made a version available for other systems, for Windows, Mac, and Linux. I've had a quick play of that the Mac version, and essentially it's the same game. You know, the graphics are more or less the same for a few little enhancements, like you get parallax scrolling in the background. You know, the SID soundtrack is all there. And actually, you can see this room is one of the ones where you need the power boots to get further up, so we can't really do much more exploring there. So at this point, really have to go back to the initial room and move on to the next one of the next levels to proceed. So curses, I have to do all that again. I like the fact that each of the enemies available has their own little characteristics in terms of how they attack and how they, you know, do they patrol, do they just stay in one position? Ah, damn it. Alright, I'm going to be careful next, I've only got 2 hit points left. But the controls, all in all, the controls feel great. I mean, I feel, you know, playing with a nice joystick, they feel very responsive, they play well. And in addition with, you know, I can imagine if you're a lucky person with a C64 JPX adapter and, you know, using a gamepad from a system, that's not good. And using a system that has gamepads that are compatible, that you probably actually have a bit more fun where you have a separate jump button and a fire button instead of having to press up all the time. But with a joystick, it plays really well. You do have to get used to the inertia. There is inertia in your movement, but that, like, it adds a bit of weight to the character. I guess, yeah, my only real minor things would be, I'm not the biggest fan of, well, there we go, that's game over. Do we want another shot? I'm going to try for another shot. I want to get further than I did. So let's dive back in. Because I actually did alright, and then I stuffed that one jump up. But yeah, one of the things I'm really happy about is this style, you know, slower paced exploration, platform action, run and gun, hasn't really been done on the 64 before. I mean, you might think of Turrican, but Turrican really is a fast paced game. You know, you're against the clock and you have to work your way through the levels before you run out of time. Here it is really about making your moves precise, or you will stuff up, as I've just done. Right, you can't take too many of those leaps blind, as you will fall. So, you know, as me doing with this room coming to the other side, you know, you really have to just nudge the joystick to make sure you, instead of like that where I've just lost another point of energy. That's okay. Time to find at least one of the health pickups. Down we go. I flip through. The other thing, of course, you don't really need to collect to kill all the enemies to proceed. Simply, and sometimes there's actually a wiser course of action, just so you don't risk taking damage. But sometimes, of course, you have to. But I like the fact that there's this sort of freedom of execution in there. Let's go back up. Let's go back to getting that key. Alright, let's try and do this again. So yeah, I will post below in the description all the links. So we can buy the C64 version, yeah, again as a cartridge, as a physical cart or a digital download, which thankfully, you know, if you do buy the cart, you do get the download with it, as well as the PC Mac version, PC Mac Linux version, my mistake, which is a free but optional donation download, and I personally recommend you do give a donation. You know, I guess that's my personal bias towards, you know, supporting indie devs, but you know, it is awesome that we see these games, you know, new games coming out for, you know, a 30-year-old computer, and I love, you know, getting home from work and seeing the, you know, the email and seeing the, you know, the cart in box in post. Always a great experience. So if people continue to do that, yeah, I'll probably try and buy good releases. Okay, back on course. Ooh, close. Hopefully I won't miss that jump. But I guess it's what happens when I'm recording this later than I normally would, so. Alright. Alright, let's do this. Ah, wasn't close enough that time. Let too much momentum drag me over that time. You get used to the patterns, and it's good work. Ah, that was just silly. But, I mean, I think there's quite a lot of play in here, just working, you know, the strategy out to engage these levels, and you can do it. I mean, so far I haven't come anywhere close to actually getting any of the crystals, let alone all 5. And that's really the sign of what a good challenge is, you know, on a retro game, because it's really about, you know, seeing how far you can go and slowly working your way up to the skills to be able to actually play the game in full. I do wish that the pickups were a little more frequent, but that's probably just nitpicking or me being rubbish. Alright, now we're back on track. And see when you actually hit these rooms going backward. Ah, that's not good. What I'm hoping to do is at least get to the exit and show you, you know, going to the next chamber. But we're not doing well. Only 1 hit point left. But at least these enemies only shoot horizontal. Unlike those red ones that shoot that diagonal projectile. Alright. Down. Alright, almost there. Almost at the exit. Let's jump out. Oops. Jump out. And we get to our next chamber. So the idea is we can unlock those with keys, but we're not really tack equipped. So let's go back into chamber number 2. So you can already see that whilst recycling the same, you know, the same level structure, you now have to deal with, you know, different enemy placements. In this case, you know, we've got these red suckers, and they will wreck you. They're just really annoying when they're tight like that. That was close. Very close. Ouch. Oh! Oh, that is cruel. Very cruel. So all up, I definitely think it's worth checking Powerglove out. Like I said, I'll have the links down below, and I definitely reckon you do check it out. You know, throw a few dollars their way, or pounds their way if you do download the PC Mac Linux version. Otherwise, you know, go grab it for your C64 or emulator and enjoy it there. So with that, that's a wrap. This is a good Powerglove, not a bad one. So definitely do check it out. Thanks again for watching. If you've subscribed, thanks again for doing that. Should see some thumbnails for some other cool homebrew games coming up right about now. And with that, I'll catch you next time.